Hello everyone. Welcome to our Power BI session. First up, please tell me in the comments if you can hear me loud and clear. Cool. I can see the first comment showing up that yes, you can hear. A big, warm, and beautiful welcome to you all, people from all over the world. I was actually on the chat for about 30 minutes now, just watching the messages off and on while I went downstairs to prepare a cup of coffee. And I am super excited about this particular session. For two big reasons. Number one, obviously Power BI, because people have been asking for a Power BI live stream for since the time I began doing the live streams earlier this year. So every month I would put up a request on my channel asking, what do you want to learn? And Power BI was like a recurring theme. So I'm excited to have this Power BI session. But there is a second reason for which I am actually excited and thankful to be meeting you all in person on this day. This is because when I went to bed last night, we had 99,923 or some subscribers. And when I woke up, we have 100K subscribers. So yay, a big celebration. Thank you so much. It is such a fun thing to wake up to, but also it is super joyful to share the news with all of you, and personally thank you for being with me on this journey, learning from me and supporting the channel, and as well as my mission of making people awesome in your work. So thank you so much. All right. What we will do is, just as usual, we will get started. I've got a small presentation that will walk us through the proceedings for the day, and then we will jump into Power BI. I have already uploaded the sample files for our session in the description of the video. You can check that. Just expand the page and you will see all the links. You are more than welcome to grab these files and practice as I am teaching in the live stream. Alternatively, you can sit back, relax, watch the thing, download the files, and maybe take some notes, have a sip of coffee or water or beer or whatever else you're having, and then when you have some free time later on in the day, practice the ideas. So, yay. Okay, let's just jump into this one here. So this is our sales dashboard with Power BI. Although it does say sales dashboard, there is nothing super salesy or marketingy about this particular dashboard, because this is kind of like an entry level idea into Power BI. So I'm using retail and sales data as an example, but even if you are working in other industries or other lines of work, you can straight away take these ideas and apply them within Power BI to your lines of work. So this is the specific dashboard that we are going to construct. We will try to get as close to the one that I'm showing on the screen as possible. But given the constraints of doing it live in a stream, as well as answering some of your questions and all of that, I'm not 100% sure how far we will go. We will try to get as far as possible, but if it gets too long, or if I don't if I end up making detours because of the questions or whatever, we will I'm giving you the full copy of this file as it is, so you can actually go and kind of re-engineer it, but we'll try to make it as much as possible. So how do we make such a thing? What is the actual process that we are going to follow? The process involves these 4 steps as far as this live stream is concerned. We are going to look at the data that supports this analysis. We're going to have a kind of a free play session within Power BI, wherein I'm going to show you how Power BI works, how things how you can set things up, what are some of the unique things about it, how it is different from other mainly popular data visualization tool, which is Excel, how it differs from that. And then we're going to create some simple measures and DAX. The ideas that we cover in the DAX space kind of fall back onto what we have learned in the previous month's live stream. Even if you're not there, it doesn't matter because I'm going to cover them again. But if you have been there, then you would be like, oh yeah, I get that. And then finally, we will make the dashboard. Before we begin, there are three things that I want to quickly mention. Number one, download files. As I said, the download files are already uploaded. You can check the video description for the blank data file and the completed dashboard Power BI workbook, and you can right away download them if you want to refer to them as we go along. Alternatively, as I said, make a note of these things, sit back, relax, and enjoy the whole show. Come back and get them later on. And if you have a question, I would love to hear your questions, your commentary, your chatter. So please post them in the chat window. If you have any questions, please start them with Q so that I can actually spot them among all other things that you have been messaging and saying. And if you are asking a question, please stay on the topic, which is Power BI Sales Dashboard for this particular live stream. And if you already posted a question, please don't repeat it because that will be fairly inconvenient for everybody else, as well as I may not be able to respond to that kind of thing. All right, that's that. And I would really appreciate if you can support the live stream with a super chat or a super sticker. It is really simple to do, and you can go to the chat window, click on the dollar icon, and share your support. All right, we will jump into our Power BI, but I'm gonna switch back into the stream just for a second here so that I can see all the messages that are coming in and, kind of read through some of these. So there have been many congratulations from all of you. And again, I am super thankful for your love and support to my channel. As some of you may know, I've started my website all the way back in 2004, but kind of pivoted into Excel area in 2007. But even my YouTube channel, I started, I believe, around 2008, 2009. So it has been here for such a long time, but I never really made YouTube as my first point of content delivery. It used to be my website and my blog, but sometime during the last year, I kind of changed the track and I said, I'm going to look at YouTube and make that as my primary mode of preparing content and delivering. And I'm really enjoying creating videos and having a lot of fun making them and sharing them and doing these live streams. So super thankful for all of your love and support. All right, there are some questions regarding Power BI that are coming up, and is it a paid tool anyway? Power BI desktop software is a free tool. You can just download it by going to powerbi.com, or if you have Windows 10, you can go to Microsoft Store and download it from there. All right, there's quite a few people all over the world saying hello from Mexico, from Iowa, USA, from Hyderabad, from India. So again, super fun to have you all here. I am excited to get started. Okay, what we will do, as I said, is we will go in and get into Power BI. As I mentioned early on, if you want to get the data for this, it is already uploaded. You can go and download the data set by looking at the video description below. Okay, so while I get into Power BI, you can tell me what you're having. As I mentioned, I prepared a coffee. In fact, just for the live stream, I had to buy this cup because every time I bring my coffee in the regular cup, it would get kind of very cold by the time I could actually take a sip. So I went to supermarket and I bought this one, which is kind of like an insulated one. But when I took a sip earlier, it was too hot. Like really, my tongue was burning. So Yeah, tell me what you are enjoying while you're on the stream. And okay, so let's just jump into the Power BI. So this is the dashboard that I have prepared for you, and you can see that it is showcasing the sales report for a fictional made-up company called Awesome Chocolates. And this is what we will create. But I don't want to overwhelm all of us by showing this and then kind of trying to reverse engineer it. We will make it from scratch so that everybody know who is new to Power BI, you feel welcomed, you understand how things work and what happens when you get in. But if you are somewhat familiar, you can kind of open the file and then see that. I just want to give a shout out to Bill, Bill Bemister for his super chat. Thank you, Bill. And there are already some questions coming in on Power BI regarding how to merge files, etc., etc. Because we haven't even started the topic, I'm just gonna ignore the questions for now. But we will come back and put those questions, answer them later on as we start getting into it. So the first thing that I'm doing is I will go and click on new in my Power BI. But if you have not already opened this file, you would just open Power BI, which is again the same experience. So we will click on new. This will open up a brand new window of Power BI. This will, because I think my computer is running multiple processes here, it will take a few seconds to show up, but eventually the blank window of Power BI will show up with this nice little welcome screen. And there's some really positive and amazing messages in the chat window. I just want to highlight some of them. Chendu, you're the person who has helped me immensely in Excel throughout my career, from Nelson. Thank you so much, Nelson, for that beautiful testimonial. And BZ Flower B also sent in a message saying looking for HR dashboard as well. I know there's been quite a few people asking for the HR dashboard. I'm gonna prepare a HR dashboard and share that in a later video for sure. And some people are still thinking, where's the file? The files are in the video description. Just expand the video description, you will find the files. Okay, so when you open the Power BI, this is how it looks. It would have a welcome screen with various things. You can kind of close this off, and if you have not logged in, you would kind of also have a screen asking you to log into Power BI. Again, logging into Power BI is not a necessary thing, but you can also sign up for a free Power BI online account through which you can log in and kind of connect, which will open up the door for the other side of things. Like you create stuff within Power BI, but whatever you create will stay in your computer unless you publish it, so that other people in your organization or your team or wider world can view it. And that is what really Power BI is all about. So we'll close this and then we will kind of look at how to get started. Now, some of you might be thinking, what is Power BI, right? You know, is it like a data tool? Is it a visualization tool? Is it what? So you could think of Power BI as a metaphor. You could think of this as it's like PowerPoint for data. You know, it's a very loose metaphor. It's not. It doesn't really do full justice to what Power BI can do, but it is a good starting point. You can think of using a more visual medium to talk about your data, prepare your data, analyze it, visualize it, as well as share it with a wider audience. So that's kind of what Power BI is all about. So it is a tool where you can do the data analysis, you can crunch, you can prepare your data, you can crunch your numbers, you can make some outputs, and then you can then take that, you can share it with the wider world. How do you share it? If you have an Excel file, you share it by emailing the Excel file to your colleagues, and then they need Excel to view that. Whereas within Power BI, when you share something, your colleagues or your clients or your customers, they don't specifically need Power BI. They can just open the thing in a browser and it will show up like a web page showing you that beautiful information. In fact, the sales dashboard that I prepared, it is already shared on the web. So I'm just gonna go here and open that up so that we can see how this would look like if somebody goes to web and then sees it. The link for this is also in the video description. It says preview the dashboard online in the video description section. And when you click that in the browser, this exact dashboard opens up on my Chrome as a page. Everything is still functional, but it is online. So that's what Power BI allows you. So it will let you create what you want and then share that with your audience without having the limitation of having a software. You can share that as a web page. You can share it as part of Power BI app so that they can see it on their mobile devices and whatnot. But how do we get started with Power BI? When you get in, obviously it is a data analysis and visualization tool. So you need to start with data. And the obvious choices will be where is your data, and it will show up these buttons asking pick your data source. The key ones are like your Excel files, a SQL Server, or you can paste the data from copy paste, or you can use one of the built-in sample data sets. But there is other buttons on the top which have like even more options. You can pretty much connect to any kind of data source that is available in your organization or in the cloud and use that to bring in the data. For the purpose of this exercise, I prepared the data set in an Excel file because this will be very easy for me to distribute to you and for all of us to use without getting overly complicated. And this data set is a made up data set of this fictional company called Awesome Chocolates. Some of you are familiar with this company because I use this quite often in my videos. And it shows the information of the chocolate sales by salesperson, geography, product, date on which the transaction happened, how much amount our customer salesperson has sold to how many customers, how many boxes, and then it kind of goes on for 2000 rows. This is the 2021 year-to-date data. So it goes up to end of May. And then we will make our dashboard analysis with this. We'll then see what happens when new data is added, how to update our Power BI dashboards towards the end of the session. So you can understand how any data sets from your live situations, you can use that to prepare the analysis. Apart from the actual sales data, there is also some other supporting data here. So I got 3 individual tables, one about my products, the other one about my geographical information, and then the third one is about our salespersons, which team they belong to, and their profile picture. So we will use all of this to kind of make it a zazzy, nice looking dashboard for our data. Again, as I said, you can download this file. It is linked up in the video description. So we go into Power BI. We can click on the import data from Excel button and link it up. So I'm going to just point to my blank file, open, and then that will connect that. All right. I just want to have a look over in the chat window to make sure that I'm not missing any important conversations or technical difficulties. So Steve says, do you have to open any options in Excel to, I suppose not, but if you have downloaded it from the web, usually what Excel will do is it will kind of open it in a protected mode. So you may have to unprotect the file and or place it in a different folder. So just open it in Excel and then say that I trust this or something, but it doesn't really need to be. And Carla says thumbs up and keep the coffee coming. Thanks, Carla. I wish I could send you a cup over there, but please enjoy one on me. And Helen also sends in a super sticker as well. Thank you, Helen, for your love and support. So Jerry asks, how do I share the dashboard without giving access to manipulate the backend data files? This is one of the key components of Power BI ecosystem. You're only sharing the outputs, not the data. So I will show you how it will all look when we implement this. Um, Victor also says thanks for the amazing class. Thank you, Victor, for your support. Um, and there are some generic questions on is Power BI better than Tableau, or where would it fit in Excel, etc. We'll talk about these kind of things towards the end. Let's first understand what this is with an open eye and open mind, and then you can see where it will fit into the overall spectrum of things. All right. Now there are some very technical questions on other aspects of Power BI. I will address them as we make progress, because some of those questions will become answer. You kind of get the answer as we get into that. Um, okay, I'm going to turn off my face now. It'll all be Power BI from here on for some time, and then I'll come back and show my face from time to time. But let's just jump in now. And so here I opened the Excel file, I clicked on Excel, pointed to my Excel file, and now it is showing me what is in the file. It has these tables and spreadsheets. I'm just going to connect to these tables. We need all the 4 tables for our analysis, so I'm just going to pick the tables. I'm not going to pick the spreadsheets per se, just the tables, because the data in the Excel file is actually in tabular format in those tables. So that's what we need. And then we can just load. Now, you can also transform the data. This is where if you are bringing in the data that needs a bit of cleanup, either because there are some extra columns or something is not all there, or some extra spaces are coming in, or whatever else need to be done, you would use the transform data option, which will open up the Power Query window through which I can kind of manipulate the data. And it is again a very, very powerful feature of Power BI. You can use that to change the data portion of your input. So a classic example for this could be, let's say you get the data, but not everything comes from in one shape. So your sales data is broken down into individual monthly files, and you need to kind of combine everything, stitch them together into one big table before you start analysis. So that's where Power Query can help you with transform data. You can use that to append files and create a large table, and then use that to build your analysis. In our case, we have it easy. Everything is nice and clean, so we don't need to do the transformation option as such. We'll straight away load this up. Now, when you bring in the data, if you are bringing just one table, then you can straight away start analyzing it. But if you're bringing multiple tables, you need to perform an important step here. This step is called data modeling. This is where, because you're bringing in multiple tables, you need to take a minute and figure out how these tables are linked to each other. What is the relationship between those tables? And you can view this by within Power BI. It kind of looks like a big giant blank canvas, but there are 3 buttons on the corner. The top one is like the visual layer. So this is what I'm seeing now. The last one is my model view, and I can go to the model view, and this will give you a pictorial representation of all the tables. So you can see that there's 4 tables, and as I brought the data, Power BI is smart enough to figure out that this looks interesting. I'm just going to connect the tables because there are some same column names here. So it did that part, and it kind of connected some of these tables. Let's just double check everything. I'm just gonna make it somewhat big so that you can see it. But here what is happening is, this is my people table and that's my sales table, and they are linked up on the salesperson column. Because it's the same column name in both tables, Power BI kind of took a guess and linked it up. So that line, when you hover, it will show you salesperson here is linked up to salesperson there. Same with my sales and the product table here. They are linked up on the product column. So same product appearing in both places. Location, it was not able to figure out because the column names were not matching. So I'm just going to do that by saying geo is nothing but geography, and link that up as well. So we now have a data model setup with 3 tables sitting on the outside and 1 table sitting in the inside. All right. So this is where normally within business situations, this is how your data would always look like. You will have multiple tables feeding in and you need to link them up. But again, there are different ways this happens. So for example, Joe, my wife, she works as a Power BI reporting analyst for one of the government ministries here. And within their teams, they don't individually do this. There is a central person, team kind of manages this setup. So when they try to analyze the data, they connect, instead of to individual data sources, they connect to a built data model and then bring that over as well. So depending on how Power BI is implemented within your organization, you may have to do this step yourself, or someone else will manage this and give you the final output like this. So you then go in and analyze. So you need to see this idea in conjunction with what's happening in your real world. There's been quite a few stickers coming in. I just want to take a second to thank them. Chad and Willis sends in a super sticker. So does Ian, and Nelson's Sons as well sends in a sticker, and Helen as well. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for your support and love. And let's just see if there is any other questions coming up. Okay, so things seem to be looking good. So this is the data model. Time for a, well, not a joke, but something silly. So there is this bar in Seattle in near the Microsoft offices where all the project managers usually go and enjoy a nice drink in the evenings when they finish their work. But the bartender really hates the Power BI project managers. Can you guess why? It's because they're always joining the tables. Well, that's a silly joke, but that's really what we have done here, right? We took the tables and we kind of joined them by combining, kind of saying that this column here is linking up to that column there. This way, you get to keep your data in the shape that it is and then still do the analysis. So this step is called data modeling. And this specific data model that we prepared here, wherein we got one central concept, the sales table, and then these other three little tables that are linking up, this particular kind of modeling is called a star schema modeling. This is because it kind of looks like a star. There is a central concept, and then there is these multiple tiny little concepts on the outside of it. And when you look at all of them together, it looks like a star. Well, not a pretty star or anything, but just a star. And there is actually some special names for these things. Again, it's not necessary to know, but this central concept is usually referred to as a fact table. This is because it contains all the facts or numbers. And these outer tables are called dimension tables because they provide the information in a specific dimension. So for example, my people table gives me the information in the people dimension. This gives me location information, and that gives you the product information. So each table throws the light in one dimension of the data. So that's you might hear these words, especially if some of your data colleagues talk about them, and you might think, oh, what the heck is a fact table anyway? That's what this really is. All right, so we connected our tables. You can see that these tables now pop up on the right hand side as well. And now we go back here. Let's start by playing. We'll then understand what goes on, and then we'll define our goal for the dashboard and we'll start building. I'm just checking what's happening. Cheryl sends in a sticker as well. Thanks, Cheryl. So we got our blank canvas here, and let's start building something, and then you will understand how things will work. We want to see how much sales are happening within geography. So my geography is in the location. So I'm just going to go here, pick the geography, and we will want to see by amounts in a bar chart or something. So I'll just pick this stacked column chart, click on it, it'll add a visual to the canvas. This white space is called canvas, so we'll put that. And then I'm just gonna select geography, drag and put it into the axis. So this is what we're doing, drag and drop, and that will add geography as an axis. Nothing happens now because we only put the axis, but we need to tell what needs to be on the value side of things for us to make the graph. The value needs to be my amount, so I'm just going to take the amount and put it into the values area. Again, the very first time you do it will look funny, but you can kind of draw a parallel between this experience and constructing a pivot table in Excel, specifically a pivot chart, but we make a pivot table and then make a pivot chart. So that is kind of analogous to what we are doing here. And we will get a nice little graph here with my geographies at the bottom and the amounts showing up as columns. It is automatically formatted into millions, but that's what it is. I'm just going to quickly tweak the font sizes here. So this area here has 3 tabs, usually 3 or 2. The first one is where you set up. The second one is where you format. And from here, I'm just going to search for size and x-axis text size. I'll make this like nice 20 points so you can actually read that. And then y-axis text size, will make that as 20 points as well. So you can see those numbers. So this is how you can use the search to look through all the formatting options and then find what you need to do and quickly adjust that. You can also on off certain things. For example, here it says amount by geo. That's my title. If I don't want a title, I'll just turn it off and it's gone from the screen. Anyhow, nothing super amazing, super powerful so far, right? All we made is a bar graph, a column chart. You could do this in any other software as well. So that's the first one. Now my geographies are there. I'm just going to look at by teams as well, a similar graph. So I'll make another graph here. If I want to have the same kind of font sizes and whatnot, instead of making it from scratch, I can kind of Control C, Control V. So I'll get a duplicate here. And then from this one, I'll take away my geography and then I will add my team there, so that we'll inherit the formatting. So we'll be a little bit lazy here and try to do this. So then once it is done, we have my geography here. We have my teams information there, 2 different graphs. So the number one first key takeaway, this is the place where Power BI so far kind of looks like Excel or other tools, but now it starts to diverge, because what happens is if I click on an individual team, then instantly the other graph will reflect this team's corresponding proportion, like what is the Delish team's sales to these geographies. So this is the first key idea. You can kind of think this as a revolutionary idea or something, but once you start using it, it kind of becomes second nature and you don't really find it amazing. But the very first time you see this, you'll be like, whoa, what did just happen, right? So that's the key thing, where everything is interactive. You don't have to set up or specify anything. By default, the visuals are interactive. So whatever you put, if you touch something, the other visuals will respond by automatically filtering down to the selected portion and then either show only the filtered values or highlight the filtered value. So in this case, a Delish, that's the value. If I click on, for example, India, I'm seeing India's proportion of sales by these 3 teams. So that's the that's how the initial exploration of Power BI, we are learning this particular behavior where everything is interactive. So what really happens in the background though is, as you click on something, Power BI runs this engine behind the scenes that will go and filter for India values, and it kind of goes back and forth. So we selected India in the geography table. So from here, it goes here and then reduces the number of rows within this table visible for the analysis purpose to only India rows. And then it will take the people information, overlay that, split that by individual people, highlight their values here in the graph along with the actual totals as well. And you can put your mouse on that. It will show you team Delish amount is whatever 2.8 million, and highlighted is 491,000. So this is the first step wherein we are using the amount value and then two different graphs. Let's see what happens if I put another one. So if I go to my product and then I want to see these two graphs, but I just want to see this for a specific category. So in this case, we will add a different type of visual. This visual is called slicer. A slicer is pretty much like a slicer that you see in Excel. And when you add an item there, a slicer will give you options for each of the choices that you have within the category. I'm just gonna make this one as well nice and big. So you have bars, bytes, and other. And then if I can click on one of these, then what the slicer does is it will kind of restrict the data that is flowing to all other visuals by saying only look at the bytes. So only bytes data is used, and then within bytes data, this is how much India is bringing, and that's how much these three teams are further broken down into that value. So this is the interactive effect of Power BI, wherein everything is interactive. Certain visuals act differently. So bar charts and column charts and lines, when you click, it will interact for that particular point. Whereas a slicer is more like a selection thing. So you select, you're really restricting the amount of data that kind of flows in. Okay, time for us to understand all of this in a very clumsy hand-drawn diagram. So I'm just gonna switch back to my face and bring up the big guns here. So a whiteboard, well, technically not a whiteboard, but just my notepad. You can think of Power BI as we have done kind of a little bit of play, so you know exactly how it is. It's a visualization software, but it acts in three different layers. So normally when I do like a face-to-face training in a classroom, I draw this on a big whiteboard so everybody can see. But this is the best we can do within our YouTube world. So you can think of Power BI as one big box, and then there are three layers to it. So we'll draw three boxes here. And you can think that my data is outside. It kind of goes through a journey, and then you will get insights. So that's the journey. So what is the journey that we are taking here? There is a data layer, there is a calc layer, there is a viz layer. So those are the three layers: data, calculation, and visualization. Those are the three layers through which Power BI kind of flows your data into insight. The data layer, the technical name for this is Power Query. We kind of sneak peeked into this when we were loading the data. It said, transform the data. Do you want to transform it? We didn't have to transform anything, but even still the fact that it was going to an Excel file, bringing in the data, all of that is the Power Query magic. The calculation layer is the one that is doing all the number crunching. We haven't really seen it, but it was acting really, it was working hard all the while. The dashboard, or no, it's not really a dashboard. This page that we just created, all of these numbers and the highlighted portion values, all of these are calculated because of the calculation layer. So the technical name for this calculation layer is Power Pivot. Again, some of you attended my last month's live stream. You would know exactly what Power Pivot is. It's the calculation engine. And the visualization layer is where we are making all our pretty graphs and doing the little funny things of interacting, adding slicers and all of that. So many times when people think of Power BI, when people say I'm learning Power BI, when people say I'm using Power BI, they kind of loosely refer to the visualization layer. This is where the magic happens. But you can't have magic here if you have like really poor data flowing in and incorrect calculations happening. So the real background things are these two ones. So when you want to really learn and master Power BI, you need to understand the journey. You need to understand how to take your data, take it through Power Query, Power Pivot to turn it into useful visualizations. So unfortunately, because of our considerations with the live stream, I'm not going to spend time in the Power Query space, but I do have some resources for that. I have prepared some example videos and other stuff, and I'll provide them to you later on. Power Pivot we did cover in the last month stream, so I'm not going to go into too depth, but we will show that. And then visualization is where we will construct our dashboard. All right, that was quite stressful because I'm not even sure how it's going to fly, but hopefully it went well. Now let's go back into Power BI. So we will switch back to this, and we got this nice little graph that shows India's proportion of various teams, and I can switch to New Zealand. I can unselect this. One of the common questions people ask is, oh, you selected, how do you unselect? You just tap it on the same button again, and it will go back to unselecting the thing, so you're back to normal. So this is that. If I want to, for example, change my mind and I don't want to look at this like this, I want to look at it by some other graph, select the visual. You can see that it is highlighting this particular one here. I can change it to, for example, a pie chart. Not going to look very pretty with the 6 equally sized pies, but you can change it to a pie chart or a donut chart, tree map, whatever else you want to do. You can even do a line or a area graph. This will be ridiculous to have that in a line, but you can do that. So this is a little bit of play into this. Now, instead of doing something fairly arbitrary, like, let's do this, let's do that, let's actually be focused with the direction. The direction that we want to go is we want to create this. Okay. It's actually a little bit of stretch for us to go from where we are to this place, but we will try. We'll try to go as far as possible, as I said. So this is my page 1. I'm going to double click here and name this as play. This is my play area where I'm going to test out few things every now and then. We will add another page. This one I'm going to call as my sales dashboard. And we will design the dashboard here. Now, normally when you are preparing any dashboards or any complex reports, you want to actually sit down, reflect on what you're trying to do, and get it as close to as what your audience needs, because you're not building this for yourself. You are creating this so somebody else can read it and understand what the heck is going on in the Awesome Chocolates company. And you can only do that if you have a good vision and clarity of what is needed. Now, in this case of live stream, we have the luxury of, I can assume a lot of things. So I'm assuming this is the design that we want. So we'll just go with that design. We don't have to really do a lot of thinking. We'll just go with a plan that is already made for us. And the plan is, we want to visualize the key metrics. The key metrics are how much money we are bringing in, how many customers we are serving, how much quantity, I think it's easier if I refer to it. How much money we are bringing in, what is our total cost, and what is our total profit. So the three key metrics, it's kind of like a profit loss statement here. And then profit percentage, because we want to be highly profitable chocolate company, how many customers we are serving, and on average, how much each customer is purchasing from us. This is a key metric for us, because if each customer decides to suddenly purchase less chocolates, then overall revenue goes down, profit goes down, and all of that. So we want to track these 6 things, and then we want to visualize a few other bits and bobs about that. So time for us to start some calculations. We can kind of do the total amount by taking the amount and putting it here, and it was doing that. But if I want to control it a bit more, like show it in a certain fashion in dollar formatting, as well as use it for calculating cost and whatnot, we need to take control over these things. So this is where you will right click on the table, and then you can add a measure. So you can use the measure feature within Power BI to define calculations on your own. So we'll say new measure, and this measure will be total amount, and then this is equal to sum of sales amount column. It's a very simple measure, and here we are using the special language of DAX, data analysis expressions language, to create a calculation and attach it to the model. Okay, so when you click this little tick mark or press enter, it will attach that, and the total amount will come in and sit in the model. It will also have a tiny little calculator symbol next to it, indicating that this is a calculation and not an actual field in the data. Okay, so whenever you have a calculation, if you check that, it will automatically be added to the values area of my visuals. So because it's a calculation, it will be visualized. And the sum function here is basically summing it up, the amount column. What is it going to sum up? It will sum up whatever is available to it at the point of calculation. So when you set it up, nothing will really happen. None of the calculations will happen. But when you use it in a visual, so if I select my amount, my team, drop this amount and add that one, at this point, it is calculating the amount, but it sees, oh, on the axis we have teams. So I'm going to split this by team, and each team I'm going to calculate. And then you interact by clicking a bar category. It will further slice that number into bars. If you select a country, it will further slice that into that country and calculate. So all of these calculations are done by the data calculation engine Power Pivot, and then produce it to you. That's why when we set up the calculations also, we use the language of Power Pivot, which is DAX, to create these calculations. So total amount done. We want to figure out total cost. Now, for us to figure out how to calculate the total cost, if I go to my table view, from here I can see individual tables. So I'm looking at sales table. Within the sales table, I only have amount column. So I only know how much money we brought in. I don't know how much money we spent in making the chocolates. If I want to know how much money we spent to make the chocolate, I need to go to the product table. And here I got a cost per box. So for example, milk bars are $5.26 per box. And if I go to the sales table, I might find that here Carlin sold 45 milk boxes for $5,257. So from here, I know the fact that we sold 45 boxes, and I also know what is the individual cost per box. So I can calculate the total cost. Take boxes times cost per box. So this is how we can calculate the total cost. First, we will add a column to the table called cost, and then figure out what is the total cost here for all the boxes, and then we will add that up to calculate the total amount. So let me just add a column. You can go to the table tools, and from here click on the new column. And then from there, I'm just going to say this column would be cost. This is equal to boxes, which is my boxes column here, times cost per box. Where is cost per box? It's in the products table. So it's not in this table. It is in a different table. Within Excel, I don't want to constantly say Excel, but it's a easy thing for us to fall back on. So in Excel, we would use a lookup formula to do that. Here also you can do that, but you already have linked up the tables, right? Both these tables are connected. So we don't need to specifically look up. We will use another concept called, because there is a relationship, get me the related cost per box for this particular line item. So it will go look at, almond choco, whatever is the cost per box for almond choco, it will bring that, and then it will multiply that with that, and then you will have the cost item there. So for example, this line item here, we sold 422 boxes of almond choco for $2,000, but it actually costed us $2,173 to make them. So we kind of made a loss on that particular line, but that's how you calculate the cost. So once this is done, we go back here, and from there we'll make a new measure. This will be total cost. And this is nothing but sum of that cost column we just introduced. Okay. Now, of all the things that we are gonna do, I'm hoping that the most complicated one is calculating the total cost, because this is where the information is not directly available. It is kind of, we had to bring it from two tables and mix it up and then show it. So if you found this bit easy, then you're going to find the rest of the video session fairly easy to follow along. But if you had some difficulty, you don't have to beat yourself up. Just as I said, sit back, enjoy, and then because the video is on YouTube, you can come back to the same page later tomorrow or day after when you are have a little bit stronger medication available and watch the thing and it will make sense. But what would be a better way of doing this is watch that, take the idea, go back and do it yourself, then you will understand how it all worked. Okay, so that's the total cost one. And some questions, like for example, Nico asks, why didn't you create this in Power Query? An excellent question, and you can create this in Power Query as well. The reason why I didn't want to do it specifically for this particular live stream is because that would mean we will have to introduce another piece of thing and then go through the whole, which will make this like a 6-hour long web stream. So I wanted to get as far as possible in an hour. So that's why not for Power Query. William asks, oh, we created the measure on one table. Can I move it to another table? Well, absolutely yes. You can move it around anywhere. A measure per se doesn't really have any meaning on its own or on which table it is sitting, because the way we write the measures, they're all fairly naked. So it doesn't really matter where that measure is. It will still calculate to the same value. There are some probably very few exceptions, but in general, these kind of things, you will not have any difficulty. You can place them anywhere and they'll give you the same value irrespective of where you put them. So there are other more technical questions. For example, Roshan asks, adding a column does not make the file heavy. Again, this is all debatable if your data is not very big. In this case, we have 2000 rows. So there is going to be practically no difference in a modern computer between having a column here versus there. But if you're dealing with millions and jillions of rows of data, then you will have to think strategically every little action that you're doing. Am I going to burden the system or am I going to make it faster? So, but these decisions, the early on ones, when you're learning to play, you just make your own rules and play. But once you become confident, then you start to follow better practices. So yeah, you don't need to worry about this until you get too far ahead and start working in larger data sets and all of that. Hari Prasad asks, does the direction of the arrow in the table relationship affect what happens? This is a little more technical than what it looks on the screen, but what it really means is here the arrow is pointing towards the sales table. So this is called filter direction. So that means if I filter a thing in the people table, so in this case the example is a team, we filtered a team, then the sales table gets filtered as well. So I filter a team, my sales table gets filtered because the arrow is pointing this way. You can change this arrow direction. So that means if you filter something here, it will kind of go back there. Normally within the star schema, you don't want your dimensions to be filtered. You want your dimensions to filter your fact table. So your dimension tables, that is all these outer tables, they need to control the inner concept. And that's quite logical and fairly intuitive. So we don't have to think about it. But there may be special cases where you need to change that. Jonathan asks, can I purchase an awesome chocolates t-shirt? Oh, well, probably not. I'm not even going to go and launch any merch. That's not in my roadmap, but you're more than welcome to figure out a way to make them. All right. So we created total amount, total cost. Now that we know how much money is coming in, how much money is going out, we can calculate the profit, which is amount minus cost. So this is an easy measure to make. New measure, total profit is equal to total amount minus total cost. Because measures are technically, although they are in a table, they are not really in a table. They can be calculated anywhere. This is the reason why when you refer to a measure in other measures, you just write them. You don't have to specify table name, measure name. You just write the measures. Also, it's considered a best practice because this way, when you look at a complex DAX formula, you would know what is a table value and what is a measure value straight away by looking at that kind of a syntax. But whether you write with table name, without table name, it will still work. So good idea is to not use table names for measures, just refer to them as they are. So total amount minus total cost, enter. Okay, let's set some formatting as well for the profit. I'm just gonna click on the currency format and set it to 0 decimals. We'll do the same for total amount, currency 0 decimals, cost, currency 0 decimals. So far, whatever we created, everything is in the mind of Power BI. We haven't really seen anything on the screen. So I'm just going to make a table visual, which is kind of like, you can think of this as a pivot table. And I'm just going to see it by category. So we'll add category to the table. And then we will add total amount, total cost, total profit. So we can see those numbers there. I'll just quickly make this nice and big. So we can see that total amount is 3 million, 3.9 million for bars, 1.5 is cost, 2.3 is my profit. Overall, $4.2 million profit, like this. All good. Now let's go and calculate profit percentage as well. We will take a pause at profit percentage and then we'll start constructing our dashboard, and then we'll come back and add those other two measures later. So profit percentage is equal to total profit divided by total amount. You can directly divide, but you normally want to use a divide function. This way, if there is a divide by zero situation going on anywhere, it will print a blank message. So numerator is my total profit and denominator is my total amount. And then we will set this as a percentage value by clicking in the measure tools percentage with 1 decimal. And let's add this one to my table as well. So you can see that on total we make 52% profit, but at an individual product category, bars is our highest profit percentage with 60%. Okay, so we will now add a fictional profit indicator. So anytime a profit margin is more than 50%, we consider that as good. So we will say thumbs up for that, otherwise thumbs down. So we can add such arbitrary things with the new measure as well. So we'll say profit target met as a measure is equal to, if profit percentage greater than 0.5, 50% is 0.5, then we want to have thumbs up message printed. So we'll open the double quotes, and then using the emoji keypad, you can use the emoji keypad within Windows by holding the Windows button and then pressing the dot key, Windows and dot. That opens the emoji keypad. From here, you can just search for thumbs up, and then same with thumbs down, and then close that. So there are two key ideas here. Number one, you can use if formula to test conditions on measures and then return different values. Number two, you can also use emoji. Emoji works great if you don't overuse it within report situations because they're quite visual and obvious. Instead of spelling out a big thing, you can just put thumbs up, thumbs down, and that makes sense. And I can kind of attach that to my table to see how individual categories are doing and what's happening at an overall level. All right, let me see what's happening in the chat sessions. TKB sends in a super sticker as well. Thank you, TKB. Vaishnavi says, I'm unable to create a relationship between sales and locations. The OK option seems to be grayed out. How do I fix this? So what I did is I used geography and dragged and dropped it on geography there. That's how I created. Not sure how you are making. Probably you're using like a new relationship option somewhere. Try that. Yeah, if you go here, you can select that and then match. Neeraj says a bit fast to follow along, Chanduji. Sorry about that. It's not intentional. We are, yeah, we'll go along as it needs to be. But I'll try to repeat certain points. Feel free to ask questions if you have a difficulty following. The key thing to keep in mind is you don't want to exactly replicate everything that I'm doing. Instead, you want to take some key ideas, see how that will fit into your world, because you're not looking at Awesome Chocolates Company for your work. You're looking at your own data sets anyway. So you want to have that lens and think about like, oh, this is good. How do I use it there? So Sitaram asks, does the table have a primary key concept? Well, technically, yes. The primary key is like the unique identifier in tables. And in this case, all the dimension tables need to have one column which is unique, based on which you're linking up into the fact table. In our case, we kind of made it simple by not having an ID or anything. We just use it the names. But with your data, you would usually have like a product ID, a salesperson ID, and things like that, and you would link up on those bases. So Hitesh is asking star schema, and yeah, I think it's not a question. Ehab sends in a sticker as well. Thank you, Ehab. Is there any option? So Jayat Kumar asks, how do I handle divide by zero error? This is where the divide function comes in. Divide function would not give divide by zero error. It will always print a blank or alternate result if you provide one when you use that. And Sakurai asks, is there an option to add customized visuals if condition instead of emojis? You can do. It gets a bit more technical. You may have to think about it within the framework of what Power BI allows. So again, at the initial stages of Power BI, we'll ask a lot of questions like these, but as you learn more, you will realize that it is a special tool that has certain capabilities, and it doesn't really match with anything else that you do in Excel or Tableau or other tools. So you'll have to learn and approach Power BI with a fresh, open mind and see the possibilities and then work within those limitations. Yeah, again, possible, but you will have to think about it. Steve gives in a sticker as well. Thank you, Steve. Cheryl says, are we able to join tables if there is no unique primary key in the tables? Yes and no. Within the table relationship setup within Power BI, the model view, you are encouraged to use one-to-many relationship, which means one table has a unique value and then other tables has many values. So that's the setup. But if you have got data where there is no matching thing, kind of like a many-to-many thing going on, then a good idea would be to bring them to one-to-many by introducing a third table in the middle or something else through Power Query, and then bring that over here. Alternatively, you may have to use Power Query to do such manipulations, because therein you can also do such relationships. Again, it will get very technical, and we are talking in abstract terms here. Unless we have some real data, it's very hard to explain that. So I encourage you to keep that question in the mind, go back, watch the rest of the video. Then I have got a resource on Power Query, so check that out, and between this and that you will probably be able to fill in the blanks. Okay, we will make a little bit of move and then I'll come back to your questions. Feel free to keep them going on. And one more question. Kim asks, how do I bring up the emoji? Just open the double quotes and then press Windows key and then dot key. So Windows and dot together, that'll open up the emoji keypad. If you are using a computer that doesn't have Windows key, or uh, or probably you're not able to figure that out, you can always go to internet, search for a website like Emojipedia, which is basically a list of all the emojis. From there, copy the emoji that you want, Control C, come back to Power BI, paste it, Control V. That's how I used to do it before this particular thing was added to Windows. So we got the profit target met. As I said, we will stop here. We will actually construct the dashboard. We'll come back and add those other two things later on. So I'm just gonna delete that table and then, so to delete a visual, just select and then hit the delete thing and it'll be gone. And from here, what we will do is we will start building our report. So we'll start off by adding the numbers as boxes here. So to show an individual number, you can use the card visual. A card visual will be perfect to show single numbers. So we'll select the card, move it around, size it appropriately. And within this card, I want to show my total amount. So we'll put that. Now notice that on this report, there is nothing. So 8 million here refers to our entire revenue, total revenue for all the data in the data set. So $8 million. We can go and add the rest, but I'm just going to apply some formatting here first. That way, when we don't have to do the same formatting again and again, we'll just do it once and done. So we'll select this visual, go to the format thing here, and then we will add some background color. Background is already on. So I'm just going to pick a dull color like that, so that will look like this. The next thing that we will do is we will make the data label maybe 36 points. It doesn't have to be so big, but oh sorry, not yeah. And then change the font to one of the bold ones so that the number is actually stronger. And if you want, you can also change the color. I think I changed the color to blue color in my final thing. And then category label, this is fine. We'll just leave that there. So once you're happy with this visual, you can then Control C, Control V, copy. And as you move them along, Power BI shows the guidelines for you to properly align. We only have 4 values there. So for now, we'll do 4 pastes. And then later on, if needed, we'll add more. So this one, I'm just gonna replace this with total cost. A card can only contain one value. So when you drag and put another thing, it'll kind of go away, the original one. This one is my total profit. And this is my profit percentage. So all the 4 measures are shown here. At this point, if you think, we need a bit more detail, 4 million doesn't look all right, you can go in and then where it says decimal points, you can add a decimal point to this particular card. And that will add a little more precision to the numbers depending on how your data is. You can also decide whether you want to see it in millions or thousands or billions or actual value, whatever you want, you can set that up from there. Okay, so this is done. And then let's go and add a trend graph that shows how this money came in on each of the 5 months in the year. So to do that, we'll use either an area or a line chart. I think I went with the area chart in my original dashboard, so we'll use that. So we'll add a area chart, bring in the date onto axis. So for each date, how much money came in, and then total amount into my values. Now, when you add any date value, Power BI will introduce these additional pitchfork buttons on the top. So these are called hierarchy buttons. And what a hierarchy button does is, because a date kind of goes into a tree structure, right? You have year, within year you have quarters, within quarter you have months, and then days. So that hierarchy is put. And anytime you put a field that has these hierarchy, it will automatically put that at the highest level. So in this case, it kind of took it all the way up to my date year level. So it's showing me 2021, your total amount is $8 million. Let's see it by the month. So we'll kind of drill down one level and then one more level. So this is the monthly breakdown of the amount. The axis is actually from 1.8 to 1.3. That's why it looks like in May our sales plummeted, but they didn't really plummet. They went from 1.8 to 1.3, and that's that. So once this is done, you can kind of size this, and as you size, certain things on the graph will disappear. If you make it too small, nothing will appear. So that's that. So we'll make it probably something like that. Let's just tweak it a little bit. I'll turn off the title. I will, for now, we will leave the rest as it is, and then we'll put it like this. So this is my amount trend, and then I can Control C, Control V this, move it like this to see similar graphs for each of my 4 metrics. Now this is basically manual process wherein you copy paste and then you select this, drop the total amount, add total cost, drop the total amount and add total profit, and finally take away total amount and then add profit percentage. So you can see that even though amounts are going down, simultaneously we also have costs going up, which is why our overall profit is kind of going down, and then profit percentage also took a hit. So it tells the story in a more richer manner rather than simple numbers there. Again, you can tweak all the formatting, pick a different chart, whatever you fancy you can do. Traditionally in a dashboard you want to have like a big headline numbers and then support them with some sort of trends or percentage changes or something else, so that it gives you an indication of how good that number is or how bad that number is. You don't want to just leave the people with $8 million as a big number. You want to explain that it's 8 million, but it's not all good news because things have been kind of slowly going down since the start of the year. So then this is done. We can then go and look at how each of our people have done. I think in the actual dashboard we had sales by country kind of thing. We will do that later. For now, let's go and make a table because this will be a little more exciting thing to do first. So we want to see how each of our employees are doing, how much money they're bringing, what is their profit percentage, and whether they are thumbs up or thumbs down in terms of profit targets. So we will add our salesperson. These are the names, and then we will add. We want to see their picture as well, so we'll add their picture. Now, when you add the picture, it will show up as a URL, but these are their real faces, right? We put that in our intranet server so that we can show that. In this case, they are on my website, but you get the point. So all you have to do is go to the data view, pick on people, select the picture column, and then every column within Power BI treats that as like the default setup, but certain columns you can tell Power BI, hey, this is actually a URL, treat that as a URL. This is an image, treat it as an image. So select the picture column. From the column tools, data category, here we will tag this as image URL. This is one of the options. So when you do that, Power BI now thinks every time I'm displaying this column on the screen, I will, instead of showing the actual value of the column, I'll go and fetch the image and show that in the screen. So this will now show the images of our people in the report. For the basic setup, the way I have shown, the images need to be on a publicly available website that is accessible from your computer. So it can be like a public website, it can be a local intranet website. As long as from your computer you can go there, it will show up here. There is more complicated ways of doing this to link up to your Outlook profile or Windows profile and fetch that. And you'll learn that as you make progress there. So for now, we got name and the picture. This becomes a little more visual. And let's add other bits there. We will add total profit and then profit percentage, profit target thing. So we can see by individual what is happening. Let's adjust some of the formatting of this table. We'll turn off the total row so we can go here into the formatting thing. From there, total off. We don't need grand totals because that's kind of printed here anyway. We can go to the grid And from here, you can decide how big this image can be. By default, it will be 75. I don't know what 75 means, but it is that big. So if I want to even bigger image, I can make it like that. If I want something small and tiny, just to provide context, we can bring it down, because this way the important ones, which are numbers, will get highlighted. So we have total profit, profit percentage, and whether the target is met or not. You can again adjust some of these text sizes and things like that to make things pop a bit, and even add coloring on the headers and borders and all sorts of things that you can do on a table. But for now, that is good enough for us. It gives you a fairly good indication of what's happening within the team. I'm just going to adjust some of these columns so that everything fits into the space that we have there. And next up, we want to see how much profit these people are bringing and who is our most profitable person. So you can apply a sort order, and that will give you in the profit order. So I can see, for example, Kane is our most profitable salesperson. He also has 61% profit, so thumbs up. But further down, Marnie and Bar and Carlin, they have lower profit amounts and also not meeting the 50% profit target that we have set for ourselves. This is everybody. But now we will go in and add the team layer, so I can pick a team and then just see for that team how these numbers look like. You know how to do this. Add a slicer and put team into that. And then I'm just going to move this, place it on the top, so that I got my team there, and I can pick one of the teams to see just what's happening within the team. So Delish team, this is how they are doing. That's their total amount across the company. Because it's all interactive, like you can see that when I place my mouse, it's kind of highlighting. I can click an individual and then I can see their trends and everything as well. So that's the interactive bit of Power BI. So this is how that table can be created. All right, let me just quickly check in on the chat window to see what is happening. We have some royalty here as well. Excel on fire. Some of you might know Oz Dusoliel, who is a very good friend who runs a popular channel called Excel on Fire, is here as well. Hey Oz, how are you? Becky asks, can we select more than one item and move them? I suppose you're referring to the visuals. Yes, you can. You can hold down the control key and then select the items. So that's how you select, and then you can move them. But there is more to it. You can also, if you want to treat all of these as like one big object, because then every time you move, you want to move all of them together, you can kind of click and drag to select them first. Once they are selected, you can right click and then group as one object. So they are still individual charts, but now there's one group. So this will give you a bit more visual freedom to move them around in one go and place them and work on them. So that's that. There is actually another sneaky trick. So let's say you're not happy with this blue color anymore. You can select all of them. Instead of individually changing the blue color, select all and then go to format. From here, data label, I can change the color to this bright red color. It will apply for all of the visuals. When you do this, it kind of shows the lowest common denominator. So if you select different visuals and they don't all have common properties, whatever is common, only that can be adjusted. So I find this particular trick of combining them to format is a lot better than individually formatting. There is also another thing. Let's say you now decide to add one more card that shows, let's just pick customers. So it shows the total customers. I want this card to look like that card as well. You can select this card, click on the format painter, and then click on that. It will apply the same formatting rules. It won't match the size, but it will apply the formatting rule. So I can then resize and move them around as well. So that's some of those things. Let's see. Faisal asks, thanks Chandu. Question, why do sometime when you export a table, it gives a summary view and sometimes a detail view? Not sure exactly what that is. Where are you exporting? Are you able to clarify that? Maybe post another comment, Faisal. I'll watch for that. Uh, Hanike asks, can you copy paste visuals to Word or something? I've never tried that, but I'm gonna copy this, Control C, open my PowerPoint, and then see what happens. I can't even paste it here, so yeah, probably not. Uh, but there are other ways to share. Like I think you can save it as a PDF or something, or maybe take a screenshot, or maybe there is something else that I don't know. Vinod asked, can we conditional format emojis? Of course, yes. That's actually one of the new next things that I was going to do anyway. We're not going to conditional format the emojis because it's going to look silly to have. I mean, the actual color of the thumb itself is determined by Windows, so we can't change that, but we can add a background color there. Instead, we will add conditional formatting to the total profit row, so it shows a bar. How depending on how big your profit is, it will have a bigger bar there. So to add conditional formatting, select the visual on which you want to add. It works beautifully with tables and matrix type of visuals, wherein a table is like this. A matrix would be more like a traditional pivot table with row and columns. So select the table, pick the column that you want to add it. So in this case, total profit, click on it, and then there is a conditional formatting there. You can add any type of conditional formatting. So I'll pick the data bar, and then we'll just leave the default setup and click OK, and it'll add the data bar like this, which will show a bar chart right inside to indicate. So this is how, even though tables tend to look a little boring, you can make them exciting by adding pictures, adding data bars, and all of that, and everything will look a little exciting there. So that's that, and everything is interactive. Needless to say, if I pick a different team, I'll get their numbers, their bars will come up, and all of that. Steve asks, could you have copied total amount and the graph and then pasted and then changed? Unfortunately not, because there are two different visuals. Even when you group, when you change the thing, you will have to still change it in two places. It is not that smart. Probably it will get there very soon, because one of the key things to remember about Power BI is every month Microsoft releases a new version. Well, they don't really always do, but most of the time, every month there is a newer version of Power BI. So they put in new features every time. They watch a lot for a lot of feedback. So if you are regularly using Power BI, I encourage you to share the feedback with Microsoft by, I think there is a, in the help ribbon, submit an idea button is there. So you can do something like this, and they watch for that, and they will go and add those things. Venkat asks, will the pictures appear in matrix visual as well? To be honest, I never really tried that. I'm going to try this now. So we'll add a picture. Oh yeah, they do. So you can do that. You can add, for example, region to the column, and then profit percentage. So you can see individual profit percentages by geographical regions is a matrix view. 60% in Americas and 33. Yeah, so they do. All right. I am just a little lost because there was a follow-up comment, but I'm trying to see where that original one was, but maybe I'm lost now. So Haniki sends in a super sticker as well. Thank you, Haniki, for that. And let's go and add another table here. That way, at least the dashboard kind of looks complete. And then I'll go back to my original one, and then I'll connect the missing dots there. So here we have this thing. Now, when you have a table like this, if I want to make it narrow because I want to use this space for something, I suddenly lose my column heading as well. So here is a sneaky little trick that you can use to make things tighter in your report. One is you can resize the columns. You can just place the cursor in the middle and drag them just like a regular table. But if you say profit target met, that's a measure name that we use to convey the idea, but it doesn't really have to be that showing on the screen. So you can go to the visual fields bucket. This is what the fields thing is referred to as fields bucket. And from here, double click on the profit target met and type whatever you want. So I'm just going to put question mark there. And that's would be the column heading here. So it's not going to rename the measure. The measure still stays as profit target met question mark. But when it is displayed in this particular visual, it will be shown as question mark on the screen, which means I'll have space to move around and adjust and play things as well. Okay, so this is those three things are there. Now let's go and add another table that shows by product what is happening, because we're talking about people, we're talking about overall metrics. Let's talk about products as well. So we'll add another table, and I'm going to bring in my product name here. These are all our products. And then for these products, we will see what is the total revenue. We can add more fields, but there is almost no value. So we'll just add the emoji thing here as well, so that you can see which products are thumbs up, which ones are thumbs down, and how much is the amount. And let's try on the amount column a background color based data conditional formatting. So we can go select the table, total amount, down arrow, conditional formatting, background color. And this will give you a color scale option. Let's just select maybe this color thing, and that will give you kind of like higher numbers will have darker color and lower numbers will have that. We'll turn off the totals as well, and adjust some of these formattings and everything, and you will have your nice little sales report ready for presentation. Now let's go and make it a little more presentable. It's not perfect because it doesn't really look exactly like how I promised it would. This is how it is supposed to look like. But a lot of what you see here is exactly the same thing. It's just that we have added a little bit more formatting, one or two more measures, etc. That's pretty much what it is. So I'm going to, instead of spending the time like 30 minutes formatting this, we will look at learning more about the software. Formatting is easy. Once you know where everything is, you can spend time formatting until Christmas to do these things. So we will insert a title on the top, which is very critical for having any report. So we will add a text box. This is where you can bring in ad hoc things like text boxes, images, shapes to type what you want. So we will say sales dashboard. We'll just call this as year-to-date sales dashboard, and then resize this, move it to the top, and place it like that. Select it. I'm just gonna make it bold, 32 points, and then from here, when you have a text field, there's nothing else to attach here, so it will simply show the formatting options on the right. And from here we can add a background color as well. I'm just gonna match it with our blue color theme, and that comes up there. Now as I put the header, I realize, oh, it's actually kind of blocking my team selection slicer. So how do I send this to back? So we select that, and then we go to format ribbon. From here I can just send things to back, so that goes back. And now when you click away, you will have your team selection thing available to you. When you click on it, because you're editing, it will pop into the front, but it is in the background available on a visual layer. So this is how you can kind of lay things one on top of another to create a different picture than how it looks. How do we kind of set a box container behind these? Well, same technique, you will insert a shape. Let's insert a rectangle shape. Let's place this there and kind of like that. And this box, we are just gonna fill it with a dull color like that. You can even add a shadow effect. This is what I did. I added a shadow effect and then select this, go and send it to back so that it's behind these cards, and this is how it looks. You need to tweak some of the sizes and things like that, but that's pretty much how I've done it for my actual dashboard that I showed you. The problem with having boxes like this is, whether you realize or not, everything within Power BI, all these table visuals and all, they also have a white color background added to them. So this is why even when I put this looks white, so to kind of make this transparent, you need to select this, go here, and from here, background, disable the background on the table. So the table itself per se doesn't have white background. It's just the box in the background that kind of now shows through. So that is a little bit about the process. Now we'll go here and then I can kind of deconstruct what is happening here and how this is different from that. Everything else is same. You can see that, we kind of put this. I've added some headings on the visuals so that they become more presentable. And I put some additional labels on the first graph and then disable the labels on the others. I've colored them blue for income, red for cost, and green for profit so that it is easy for you to spot them wherever they're presented in the dashboard, and kind of synchronized the colors. Again, takes a few more clicks, but that's pretty much what it is. And these three other supporting measures, I've kind of grayed them out so that they're not really taking up too much space. And same by sales by country, same visual, that. And some of these, like dollar per customer, you can calculate them with additional DAX measure. Check the file and then you will figure out that logic. So this is how the actual dashboard is constructed. Now there might be some questions, so I'll look at your questions first and then I'll come back and talk a little bit more. Let's start with this one. Cherry asks, can a date range be specified? Absolutely yes. So we'll see that in the construction file here. So we can add a slicer because you want to select a date range. So we'll add a slicer and then put the date into the slicer. When you put a date into the slicer, it turns this into a slider wherein I can specify the dates that I want. So I don't want to look at all the way from Jan. We know that at the start of New Year, people buy lots of chocolates for gifting or whatever. So we don't want to consider that holiday season. So we can bring this down to start of Feb, and then that'll impact all the visuals immediately. And I'm only looking at Feb sales. You can drag this, you can select here, and from the calendar pop-up, you can pick the dates that you want, and that'll give you that. You can adjust it from both ends. You can even change the way this slider itself is displayed by clicking on that little arrow key. And instead of between, I want to look at either before or after, or even a relative date, which is very useful. Let's say you just want to look at the latest 30 days every time. So you say last, if I put 30, it's not going to work because we are on 26th of June and the data only goes up to 31st March. So I'm going to say last 60 days, 60 and then days. So we are only looking at last 60 days, but this is a relative. So if you open tomorrow, it will pick a different range and it kind of always moves. So it's perfect for building a thing that you don't have to touch again. And it is always showing you a moving window of what's happening. And you can get even more creative with these things. So that's that. Sunit Arora asks, can we zoom in and out of dashboard? Yes, you can. If you want to, for example, look closely at this particular thing, click on point your mouse on the table. There is a pop out focus mode. And if you focus, you kind of zoomed in. Now you're looking at this graph alone. and you can go back to the report, which will take you back. So it will add another layer in the front. Uh, and when you are building, you don't think about this, but when somebody is reading this on the browser, like I'm reading this on my browser now, you can see that this is Chrome. I can kind of go into focus mode on that, and I'm looking at, what's going on with Australia? Why are they eating less chocolate? And then go back there. Dinesh asks, how do we do weighted average calculations? You can do everything with Power Pivot. It will be very complicated to explain some of those things right here, but it is possible. You'll just have to set up your model and then figure out the logic using either the DAX or follow some of the resources that I'm going to mention shortly. That will give you more insight into working on those kind of things. Michael says, will this video upload or not? It's kind of like a tricky thing. As you can see, when I'm explaining, there is a lot of like this will only make sense for people who are watching all the 1 hour 40 2 hours video. So, and I'm going to leave that on. I'm not going to make it public on my channel, but it will be there. So if you come back to the same page again tomorrow or 1 week down the line, it will be there. But if I, especially for certain some of these ideas, because if I feel like, okay, this is very good, I am enjoying this, I might actually take it down and make it a mini series of 2 or 3 videos that will explain the process, but in a more concise and edited manner, so that people don't have to sit through 2 hours to understand how things are happening. Hope that makes sense. But yes, it is going to be there on YouTube. So Roshan says, can we send this by email to a colleague and still be interactive? Yes, you can. I think that kind of really segues us into the next part, which is what happens when you finish building this, right? You want to make something, and then how do you share it? So there are a couple of ways to do this. Number one, if you logged into Power BI, you can see that your username pops in the top, chandu.org for me, but whatever your username is. You can click on publish button. You will first have to save this. So I'll save this on my computer. So sales DB demo, and then I can now click on the publish button. At this point, if you logged in, it will open up your online workspace and then say, where do you want? I have only one workspace. So it says my workspace, and I can select that, and then it will publish this to my online workspace. From there, I can share that with my colleagues or clients and ask them to watch it. So here now it is there. I can open this in browser. This will only work by default if you logged in. So even here I'm logged in as Chandu. So you can see that it's kind of going into my profile and showing the dashboard. It has all my pages available, so I can go to any individual page, and everything is still interactive. I can select somebody to see what's happening. I can select a product to see what's going on with that product, and all of that. Beautiful. But if I want to share it with general public, then you need to get into more specifics of the Power BI licensing and how you can share, who gets to see it, who gets to see what, and all of that. And it gets a little more technical, but all of that is possible. So Suneet asks, how much canvas area we have and how do I increase it? So the default canvas area is, it's not really a specific size in pixels or anything. It is basically 16 by 9. So widescreen canvas, that's what you have. And everything is zoomed in, but if you have a big screen, everything goes big. If you have a small screen, it kind of shrinks down. So that's how the canvas works. But if you want to format it for a specific page style, like an A4 page or 4 by 3 resolution or something, you can click on the white space in the canvas and then go into format settings. And from here, you will see page size, page information. So I'll go to page size. 16 by 9 is my aspect ratio. I can change it to 4 by 3, letter, tooltip, or I can put custom, and then I can give my own dimensions to canvas, and that'll give you a different layout for you to put things in. Philip says those headshots are in Playdate for different people. As some of you might know, I run an online Power BI class called Power BI Playdate, where I teach people how to use Power BI in a like a self-paced class, and I use these images for a different data set as well because these are open source images. So I got same 100 images that I kind of reuse in different situations. Uh, Vikrant says, is there any way to stop table from auto adjusting? Not really sure what you mean by auto adjusting. If you once you fix the layout, you kind of adjust the columns. That's what it is. So if you place your cursor there and drag and put that, that is how wide that column is going to be, irrespective of what happens elsewhere. So if I pick a different team, even if their names are long, it'll kind of obey that, I think. So there is still some questions on how to publish. When you publish to your workspace, it needs to have both data and the visual output go. But when you share, your audience are not going to look at the data. They're only going to look at the outputs. So the link that I put in my video description is a share link. So that means when you go there, you have no way of going into the data. You can only see the report that I presented to you, and that's pretty much it. You can't really go back and check my data and everything because I've not provided access to you for that. Whereas when you work in a team, chances are you create a report and you collaborate with few others, and or you want your teammates to be able to edit things as well, change things, or maybe modify the data or calculate new measures there. So then you will have the workspace where everybody has access to it, and they all can go in and see and work on that and make changes or make new reports from your data. um, And Gajendra asks, can we restrict the access to a particular user? Yes, you can. So for example, this report, if I go and uh, share, I can't really share in my free account. I need to have a Power BI Pro account to be able to share. But in organizations, you will usually have a Power BI Pro because your entire organization or teams will have added you to Power BI licenses. So when you have that, from there, you are sharing to a specific people. So you will say these email addresses or people in this access group or this user group are the only ones who can read this report, and that is how it works. So Bradley says the sort is not maintained in the people table. It could be because we sorted on picture or something like that. So for example, if I sort it in the salesperson alphabetical order, when I switch, it will still obey. Same with profit. If I sort it on profit, if I switch, it'll always be sorted on profit. Victor sends in a sticker as well. Thank you so much, Victor, for your love and appreciation. Sam RS, would you be conducting any workshop on Shiny R? If not mistaken, you had shared a blog on R tools sometime earlier. Thank you so much, Sam. It's been a while. I haven't done any R programming in almost 1 year now. Yeah, I'm not super confident with R. I like to kind of dabble and make things for fun, but I think running a session like this means I would need to be more confident and comfortable with the technology. And yeah, probably not anytime soon, but you never know. It might happen down the line because I might get more creative with that and pick up the technology later. All right. Paul asks, can I update the data to tables? I suppose you mean pushing data into the database. If so, you can do that by adding Power Automate, Power Apps, which is like an additional layer of interactivity added to Power BI. So through that, people can do things or change things in the backend and all of that. Uh, Again, it would be too technical for me to demonstrate right now, but that is possible. But if your question is more on the lines of what happens when the June data comes in, well, it's very easy. I do have June data, so I'll open that. Here is my data, additional data for the month of June. So I'm just going to Control A, Control C this, close this, go to my Excel file that has the data, go all the way to bottom. Now this is pretty much how we can imagine this works in real life, right? So you paste the data. You could think of this as your database connection to a SQL Server database. Things change in the backend. So our Excel file changed. We'll save this. By the way, I provided extra data as well in the video description. So if you want to test this bit, you can go and do. So now I come here. So my Excel file changed. How do I tell Power BI that go and refresh? Simple. Just hit the refresh button here. And it will go run the same query again, get the data, update the numbers, and now everything is changed. We haven't really made a note of what was the numbers before, so I'm just gonna clear everything. If you remember, we had like $8 million revenue before, but now it's 9.4. So that's yeah, it kind of changed. All right, there's more questions there. How can we add a comment note to a specific report? You can add. Normally, the way it works is time for me to bring back my notepad to introduce few more ideas into your mind. So I'll go to full visual mode. So the way Power BI works is in software like Excel. So we'll imagine the top bit is Excel. In Excel, you create stuff in Excel file. So this is Excel file, and normally in the data analysis space, there's two kinds of people. Like there's creators, there's viewers. So you could think of yourself as the creator. You are the one who's making the data analysis, but the viewer is not you. It's usually your manager. She's the one who is reading it. So this is how that within the Excel world, creator makes stuff in Excel. Viewer also reads stuff in Excel. So they both have access to the full environment of Excel file. So you make a pivot table, your manager is reading, she can go and drop something or add a slicer if she wants, assuming you've not added protection and stuff like that. So that's the general dynamic in Excel. Now let's flip this up and let's try Power BI. Within Power BI, creators normally use the Power BI desktop software, the one that we have been using so far. So you use Power BI desktop as a creator. So creator, Power BI desktop. But the viewer, they are not really opening stuff in Power BI desktop. Once you create, you publish, you share. So the viewer is really reading stuff in the browser or the app. And this is how the thing is. So for the viewers are the ones you usually want to make notes or add comments on things, right? You're not, as a creator, you're not really, you just create stuff, and then viewer is the one that might find, oh, if I click here and click there, I'm finding something useful. So for viewers in the Power BI, PowerBI.com workspaces and published dashboards, they can add comments, they can add notes, they can save views and all of that. So that's how you can do it. But if you as a creator, you also find something interesting that you want to highlight, you can put that as a text box. You can just put a text box and then type whatever you want. So for example, I can say, Kane is not doing well, and then just add that as a layer on my output, and then that can be there. but I don't really find this that useful, mainly because this is a static text, whereas everything else is interactive. So I can click on that, I can touch and I can change, but this is not going to change. So this is where it is kind of static. They have come up with a new feature called smart narratives, wherein Power BI will generate kind of artificial intelligence sentences that describe what is going on in the screen and provide more narrative as well. Feel free to give that a try if you want to build more interactive storytelling concept. All right, let's see what else is happening. Array sends a super sticker as well. Thank you, Array. Sabiti says, is the data still dynamic from the source if an update was done? Not sure what you mean, but everything is dynamic. Like you just have to hit refresh to do it. And once you refresh, it will come through and then everything still behaves interactively. So Hardik asks how to compare data from two versions of the same table created at different times. You can use either Power Query to do such comparison and then bring the differences or whatever, or you can do more advanced analysis within Power BI for that. Amit asks, can we upload pictures directly from my laptop into Power BI instead of creating a photo URL? There is another option. So if you don't want to link pictures to individual people or anything, you just want to show a corporate logo or something, you can go to insert. And then from here, you can insert an image. You can put any image there. For example, if you have your Awesome Chocolates logo, you can add that. I do have one though, but I don't have that in this folder, but you can put that there. But if you want this kind of behavior wherein the image is really attached to an individual item in the data, then it needs to come through as part of the data. And the default thing is as a picture column. But as I said, this is not the only way. There is more ways to do it. So you'll have to find some other techniques using. So a common way people do this is they link your profile picture in the Windows directory, Active Directory, and then use that when they show information about people. Another common technique is they might have like a catalog of all the product part images or floor plans and things like that, and you can bring them over as well. There is other formats that you need to use because those images are not technically images. They're stored in the database as blob, and you'll have to bring that and render that here. Jill Bebo sends a sticker as well. Thank you so much for your support. Continued support, really. I remember reading this name a few other times in my other live streams. Thank you so much. And Excel says, I need to leave. Thanks so much for extremely helpful. You're welcome. Can I share this dashboard with any URL with you viewers? You can. So you just have to find your way around that. I'll have to. So because I'm using a free version of Power BI online, there are limited support for that. But with paid version, you have more freedom. It doesn't cost that much. I think it's like $8 or $9 per month. So for an organization, it makes tremendous sense to have that. But if you go to File, Embed Report, Public to the web, this is where you will be able to share it to the wider world. You don't want to share anything personal or your organizational data with wider world. This is all made up, randomly made up data, so I don't mind sharing this, but you want to be careful when you do this. Okay, Gajendra says super special. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Chandu Garu. Thank you so much, Gajendra. Olayami says, how do you visualize comparisons between budget, actual, and prior year? You can do that. There are multiple ways to do this. For example, there is um, a KPI visual. If you use this, it kind of gives you built-in comparison between target and actual, which is like budget and actual. But you can also use line graphs and other things. You just need to have the data in the data model for both budget and actual. Then only you can compare. You can think of our thumbs up and thumbs down as a way of doing this, right? That's pretty much what it is. We are comparing whether profit has met 50%. So instead of hard coding it 0.5, you could have another measure that tells you what the target is and then compare with that. All right. I do have a few more things to share with you before we start wrapping up the things. So I'll go back to my slides for a quick session here. And so you might be actually having more questions than answers at this point. Like you might be thinking, oh, this is all good, but I now know a little bit about what Power BI can do, but I have more questions. So how do you learn? Here are my favorite Power BI resources. Feel free to take them and then use them for your thing. There are a couple of very good YouTube channels. My favorite ones are Guy in a Cube and Karbal, and then Microsoft Power BI official channel. These three are the places where you can find good high quality information on Power BI. Of course, you also can find some things on my channel, but these people, they all talk about Power BI much more than I do. And the website's Microsoft Power BI official blog. This is because every month they release a new update with certain features added, certain features enhanced, and you want to just have a read to make sure that you are using the better and newer ways of doing things. To learn more about Power Pivot, which is the DAX language we are using to build calculations, use Accelerator BI, which is Matt Allington's website, and obviously search on YouTube and Google to learn more. I'll just quickly switch back to my browser and open up a few more resources. Now, these are not the only places. I also have some stuff on Power BI. So for example, here is my detailed Power Query video. This is something that I did last year. I put a link to this in the video description. Please check this if you want to learn how to work in the data layer of the things, like what is Power Query, how do I use it. It's a very in-depth video. It's not a live stream video, so it's like a continuous flow for an hour and 20 minutes. So you could think of that as live stream, but without any other interruptions, any other questions, no disruptions of chat or whatever. Just watch the whole thing, download the files, practice, and you will be very good within Power Query. The second resource is my page on Introduction to Power BI. I took quite a bit of time preparing this. It's a very, very big web page that walks through the entire journey of Power BI, helps you create a simple HR dashboard with sample data. It gives you more information on how to use various visuals in Power BI, even a link to my YouTube video that I did a while back, and more on technical terms and links to resources of the things that I previously mentioned, along with some book recommendations and other things. The last but not least, I also run an online class on Power BI Playdate. It is in a waiting list mode currently, but you're more than welcome to go through this page and add yourself to the waiting list, and I will probably reopen that sometime later this year. So that is how you can learn Power BI if you want to get good with that. So I'll switch back here to see some questions and give a shout out to people who send in some stickers as well. Jamis sends a sticker. Thank you so much, Jamis. And Ravi asks, is that you in picture? I suppose you're talking about the thing here. Well, that was me. I'm not wearing the same shirt, but that's a different shirt, same room. This is last year when I decided to grow my beard and just go full wild during the lockdown times. Yeah. Sabine says, thank you from Netherlands. Thank you so much, Sabine. Anthony says Avi Singh has a YouTube channel. Yes, of course, Avi Singh has a very good channel as well. LH says great information. Thank you so much, LH. Let's see this question. Can you recommend some YouTube channel where I can get SQL tutorials also as interactive as yours? That's a very, very good question. Unfortunately, I am not familiar with any SQL channels. This is not to say there is no channels. It is just that I learned SQL all the way back in 96, 97 when I was first learning computers. SQL is one of the very first things that you learn anyway. And then I kind of became a SQL pro when I started working as a software engineer in 2003. So it's been a while since I learned SQL. And once you learn SQL, you kind of know SQL. So there's no need for me to go back and learn SQL. So unfortunately, I don't have like anything, but I do have a couple of links that I referenced earlier on in one of my other videos. So I believe Khan Academy has some good videos on SQL. So probably start there, or W3 Schools. I'm just scanning through your questions. Suneet says, thanks a lot for this awesome session and answering my questions. Thank you so much, Suneet. I hope everything went well. And Ashish says, would you make videos on Tableau? Probably not anytime soon, but I might actually make some videos on Tableau, or at least do a comparison between Tableau and Power BI. This is one of the recurring questions that I get every time I talk about Power BI. Like, how does it compare with Tableau? How does it compare with SAS or Click or whatever else? And I mean, I'm kind of biased towards Power BI mainly because I have been using Microsoft technologies for such a long time. But I find that Tableau offers an equally strong and powerful product. There is almost no value in kind of having an allegiance towards one technology platform over another. If I am a business analyst or a data analyst and I'm looking to learn these tools, I would go and learn both Tableau and Power BI in parallel, or at least I will know what is what in each of them, and then I'll go in deeper into one of them depending on what is happening in my life at that time. So yeah, pick both and then do. Tableau also has a free desktop product that you can download and use it to analyze data. They have a very, very good online community, probably more deeper and stronger technical resources for helping and all of that. But at least from my interactions and my experiences, what I find is Tableau is slightly weaker on the data side of things, like preparation and calculation side, but it is very, very good for outputs. That might have changed in a while now. So yeah. Okay, let's see what else is happening. Brent says, another great session. Thank you, Chandu. Thank you so much, Brent. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And we've now gone past 2 hours. So as you could kind of guess, my throat is a little bit itchy. But I'll switch to that one instead of the beard one. Nahala says, I missed your tutorial from the beginning. Do you have a recording? What you could do is you can kind of like the video or bookmark the YouTube page and then refresh it after maybe 30 minutes. When the stream is over, then it will be available for you to watch from beginning and you can watch it again. Pawan Kumar says, Goodly is a best YouTube channel for DAX. Yeah, Goodly is a very good channel. Chandeep, who runs it, has got some pretty awesome information on DAX and various things. So yeah, feel free to check it out. Jibibo says, enjoy the weekend. Thanks from Barcelona. Thank you, Jibibo. Thanks for your support and cheering all the way. Ravi Ramakrishna says, thank you so much for a great session. I'm absolutely new to Power BI and today I'm going with some knowledge of Power BI. Great session and hoping to see you in other tutorials. Thank you, Ravi. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you again some other time. So this one came up a couple of times in AWS ecosystem. Which is better, QuickSight or Power BI? I I'm not really sure what QuickSight is, but I assume it is something similar to Power BI. I haven't really got any opinion on that, so I can't really talk about it. Sorry. Any cheat codes in Power BI like we have in Excel? Power BI is a very good software. There's a lot of fun little things that you could do, and it is quite deep and wide. So there is so many powerful things that you can do. I I think you will build your own cheat codes as you learn and use it. I would hate to for you to miss the joke that is on the white blackboard behind. So I just put that there. I was being cheeky here, and I put my guy in a cell as a thing on the back because I really admire Guy in a Cube, which is a popular YouTube channel for Power BI, and I wanted to kind of even invite them for the live stream, but I know that they would be too super busy and the timing may not even work. Then I thought, oh well, if they're Guy in a Cube, I'm Guy in a cell because I come from Excel, so I put that there. Neeraj says, very nice session, Chanduji. Your channel is one of the best things that I came across on YouTube. Doing a great job. Thanks, thanks, thanks. Thank you so much, Neeraj. I really appreciate your support and love and the passion. And I'm really thankful that I'm finding this community and I'm enjoying my journey on YouTube and sharing my voice and my ideas with all of you. Thank you. Zaiba says 100K subscribers. Thanks, congratulations. Can you make a video on MIS reporting? Sure, I will. And thanks once again for you and all the 100,000 others who subscribed to my channel and stayed with me in this wonderful journey. And I wish you all the awesomeness. Thank you, Chandu, for being so helpful. Though I missed the tutorial, I hope to go through it later as you have just explained. Yes, thank you, F.E. Geraga, and I hope to see you in the comment section. So if you're watching this in the replay, feel free to post your questions or comments there as a comment. I'll watch that for the next couple of days and I'll try to help you out as well. Now we're getting into New Zealand specific questions here. How is University of Auckland for Masters in Data Science? I don't really know anything about their data science program, but I do know that University of Auckland is one of the best universities in this part of the world. So yeah, if you get a chance, probably email the head of the department. They're very responsive and helpful. Ask your questions, ask them to put you in touch with some of the previous students so that they can guide you. Stefan says, you have a nice style of teaching, Chandu. Thank you. Thank you so much. Kapil says, thanks from Rajasthan, and says, your videos is very learning and help to increase productivity. Thank you, Kapil. Yutga says, I got your channel recommendation from Codebases. Oh, big thanks to Codebases for supporting and sharing my work. All right, Anthony says, subscribe to your channel today, but your email is started about 2 years ago. Thank you, Anthony. Welcome. Okay, so just to wrap up, you can download the file. The file that I provided you at the start of the session is this one. Not this. Is this one. And it has the sales dashboard, the completed one. But the one that we created in the video is this one. It's kind of looks similar, but not as functional. Feel free to download the original file. And after some time, I will upload this file as well and link it up in the video description. So probably in about 2 hours or 3 hours when I go downstairs and chill out for a bit. So go and check that and use that in case you have some questions. Big thanks to Mohit for the super sticker as well. Thanks, Mohit. And Jamis says, thanks, Chandu, for session. It's been really interesting. Can you suggest any platform to check out in case we need any consultation while building a dashboard? Well, my suggestion to you is Power BI is quite playful. So start by uh, going for the lowest hanging fruits and building slow, and then add complexity as you gain confidence. So if you try to attack the big report or big business intelligence thing, it will you will have more frustration. But if you go small, then you will have successes, and then you'll gain confidence. So do it like that. But as you learn, it is really important that you focus on the on the first two layers and build a very solid foundation there. So this is a diagram that I showed early on in the stream. If you have watched from the beginning, you might remember. But otherwise, the data layer where you need to understand how Power Query works and build confidence there, and then the Power Pivot layer where you need to know how to write DAX formulas, how to customize them, how to optimize them, and all that. So these two is where the real magic happens. Visualization is just the pretty part, that's the face of the report. But once you have good things going on in the background, you can do awesome things there. So focus on those two, learn some good solid resources. That's where I linked the next videos to watch for in the video description. So once you have all of that, you will obviously have questions. Even I have questions every time I use Power BI. So this is where searching online or watching some YouTube videos or reading a book or going to a forum could be the next point of contact, I think. Professor Vivek Gupta says, Vivek Gupta, always memorable to hear your mellifluous voice dealing clarity. Thank you so much for what you do so very well. Thank you, Professor. Thank you so much for your support and your love and appreciation and your blessings. Alpesh says, thank you so much for your time and energy spent over here. Thank you so much, Alpesh. Again, a big thanks to all of you for tuning in today. It's quite an interesting session. I really enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something valuable and useful in Power BI journey, and I hope you're feeling a little more confident to tackle the Power BI beast now. If you have not yet downloaded, I highly recommend that you download the free Power BI software from your Microsoft App Store or the powerbi.com. Give it a go. Even if your job doesn't involve using Power BI immediately, I think just understanding what it is, what it can do for you, will really open up the doors in your mind to new possibilities, and you never know where that will take you. Unita asks, hello from Canada. Thanks for great presentations. Jobs ask for certification. Any suggestions from where one can get? There are a couple of places which offer certificate Power BI courses. I'm quite hesitant to recommend any like a textbook style certificate courses, mainly because they tend to test things that are not really practical or applicable in business situations. I don't want this to be like a self-promotion thing, but if you are looking for a certificate course, I recommend that you consider the Power BI Playdate, which is kind of designed with the data analysts in mind. I run this course and you get a certificate as well. Not sure if a job advertises for Power BI Playdate certificate needed, but you could try that. I think Microsoft also has like a couple of certification options. But as I said, those exams tend to be more on the theoretical side rather than the practical implementation side of Power BI. So, yeah. MBK says, I'm very new to Power BI. Where do I start? Well, this video is probably the best place to start. But once you finish that, go and check the video description. I have put some resources for you there. Check them out. And then I will add these additional links as well. Yam says, you make the weekend good by teaching good stuff. Wishing you happy weekend. Thank you. Best wishes from Yahya, Dubai. Thank you, Yam. I I really enjoy my weekend. I look forward to this weekend of all the weekends in the month for two big reasons. Number one, I get to do my live stream. Number two, after the first weekend, like the last weekend of the month, is when I usually have my ice cream. I only eat ice cream once a month. So I look forward to that as well. Of course, there's lots of other fun things that I do in the weekends too. So thank you so much. I'm going to go down now and maybe drink a little bit of hot water because my throat is already itchy after talking for 2 hours 15 minutes. But everything really went well. Thank you so much for all of you for tuning in. And I just want to also once again say thanks to all the subscribers for helping me get to 100,000 subscriber milestone, which is gonna put a big smile on my face throughout the weekend. Yeah, I'll post some celebration pictures later on in the channel. Thanks again. Bye bye.